Hello, everyone. My name is George Diaz, and I'm president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I bring you another episode of Transforming Small Business Thinking. And this week, my guest is Ron Wilder. Wilder, did I get it right?
Wilder, yep, you got it.
Good. Ron, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. So today, I was talking to Ron a couple weeks ago, and then last week we met again. And one of the things that came out of our discussion is he is an Infusionsoft knowledgeable person, used to be a certified partner. He is now running a pretty advanced website on ActiveCampaign. This is in the membership site space. And I thought he'd be a great guy to bring on board to talk about the CRM decision-making process, because every business really ought to be considering a CRM. It's just a real critical part of the business. And what are the things that go into that? So, Ron, why don't we just start off? Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, my background is I'm actually a licensed electrical engineer. Of course, now I'm retired, right? But so I'm a techie. But for the last 7 years of my life, almost 8 now, I've actually been doing network marketing as my primary business, and it's my passive income source. So, but I've always been interested in the online world, and I started online back in 2009. It's just, the online world is a tricky world. It's like there's a critical mass. You've got to get past a certain point before you can be successful. And you got to be a master of a whole bunch of different things, especially when you're broke, right? And you're starting out.
Right. So, and by the way, and to a point where either the money or the time involved to get over that hump doesn't basically tank you, right?
Yeah. And so, and I had one of my coaches a long time ago said, Ron, you're brilliant when you focus on one thing. You're broke when you don't. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I had to drop a lot of coverage.
I'm an engineer too, so I totally get it. Like in my business, I overtly decided not to learn the Infusionsoft APIs, even though I was more than capable, because then I'd be in the weeds working in my business, not on my business. And that's just not going to get anywhere.
Going down the proverbial rabbit hole. Yeah. And I've kind of made the same decisions on my stuff. Is that, in fact, I have in my network marketing business, I have a training system that I've developed, and that's really why I'm using all these tools, is to automate that whole process. And also for the marketing side as well. But predominantly I use the automation for running the site. So, and giving the students, reminders and, onboarding automation, that kind of stuff, because I use Memberium also as the membership platform for the site.
Right. Because Memberium will handle on the back end both ActiveCampaign and Infusionsoft. So you're good either way. So let's start getting a little bit into this technical side. So you're one of the few people I know that knows Infusionsoft really well, because you're a certified consultant. You were working in it. You were running. Matter of fact, I think you were running this site with it.
Yeah, originally.
And then decided to switch over. So you know one site, one business that had both CRMs, and then you decided to switch from one to the other.
Yeah, it was a very difficult decision because, I was heavily invested in the whole Infusionsoft mindset and space and all the people and, it does a lot of stuff. And it's a very powerful, CRM type, well, not CRM, but it's a very powerful system, right?
Right. And it's got marketing automation built into it and a lot of other pieces.
And sales and the whole account, the business side, the taking the money side as well, right? So that was the one thing I had to look at. And I said, well, one of the challenges I had was I was getting wrapped up in my underwear in automation. Okay. You would make this, of course, the engineer in me, right? We want to use all the bells. Oh, there's another bell. And see if we can use that bell, see if we can use that whistle. And so we would end up making these very complicated campaigns. And what would happen with Infusionsoft, I discovered, was somehow, as I was going through this, like I do a Black Friday launch or something, and then Tuesday I go, I'm going to add this little thing to the funnel. And then, of course, it would break in the funnel. And then people would end up sitting in this spot, and then I had to figure out somehow to get them out of that spot. Move. It got to the point where by the end of like Thursday night, I had so many people were stuck in so many parts of the funnel. I just said, this is it. And of course, I had challenges. Even as a partner, I was having problems with connecting with Infusionsoft. And that's why if you're going to do Infusionsoft, make sure you have somebody that knows Infusionsoft that is an expert that can help you out. Because when you're in the thick of it, and you're like trying to get stuff done, trying to get content done, trying to get all the rest of that stuff done, you can get yourself really going crazy. And
right. And if you assume you're going to depend upon Infusionsoft support to get you through it, that's just a mistake. That's not what they're there for.
It can happen. No. So you want to have somebody there that's going to help you through that process. And even as an expert, quote unquote, the problem was that my focus is a rabbit hole thing, right? My focus needed to be content or marketing or whatever it was at that moment, but not the details of funnels, okay? And what I discovered also was, on Friday morning, I said, you know what, I'm not going to launch this because there were just too many people stuck in too many different places in the funnel. So I let it go. And I regrouped at that point. And so I started talking to some of my friends who were also certified partners and some who were experts. And I said, I noticed one of them had sent me an email and it was using this other product called ActiveCampaign. I'm like, tell me about that, because I know you're like an Infusionsoft expert, and you've taught it Icon, you've taught it, you're like an expert. I said, why are you doing? She says, well, ActiveCampaign kind of just works. You can make a change in the middle of ActiveCampaign while the campaign's going, and just say, copy this over here and keep the context over there, or move the contents over here, or the contacts over here, and it just works. And I wanted to kind of go through, like the API of Infusionsoft, and I was trying to integrate to it, and it was just a pain. They were in the middle of switching from an old to a new version of an API, and she showed me this really cool thing with ActiveCampaign. It's just copy this code, stick it in there, and you can get to the API. I'm like, really? I tried it. It worked. I'm like, okay, now I got to look at this more seriously. But I thought, how could I ever move from Infusionsoft, which I'm so heavily invested in, into the new platform? Because you've got momentum, right? You've got momentum, and so it's like, well, it's you have to decide: am I going to take a break from all my activities and shift to this new platform? And a lot of times you don't have time or money,
spare time sitting around doing nothing, right?
Right. So I ended up losing, I would say, 6 months of my life in the process. But what I ended up with was something that I really like. It's simple, it's clean. What I like about it also is it costs like 10%, of what the other one cost. I mean, when I started
in monthly recurrings, right?
Yeah, right. So instead of spending, at the time I was spending like $350 to something like that a month on ActiveCampaign, even as a partner, right?
On Infusionsoft, you said.
On Infusionsoft, I'm sorry, you're right. Infusionsoft. And ActiveCampaign at the time was selling for like, I don't know, $9 or something like that a month. I mean, now I think it's like 15.
And then how do you take payments? Because that's a missing. ActiveCampaign doesn't have that natively, right?
Yes. So what I did was, there's a platform out there I really like. I highly recommend. It's called ThriveCart. Yeah, ThriveCart.
I've heard a lot of good things about that from another active.
I love it because what I like is it's like all the big boys, out there. They have a lot of shopping cart solutions out there. But this one had a one-time buy-in, $600 buy-in.
Oh, okay. You got in on that early, because I know the price now is, it's not huge, but it's not $600 one time. You
can still right now, I get an affiliate link, or you can get one, whatever, but you can get that price right now for lifetime, and it includes all the upgrades, and the support is great. And so I thought, well, that's my solution, because I can, through right now temporarily, without going through all the API stuff, I can go through Zapier, take anything I want, any field that I want to collect or any data that I want, drop it right into ActiveCampaign. Okay, so all those fields are in ActiveCampaign that receive them. So I can do that. The one thing it doesn't have.
And by the way, so you're doing API integration on here. So you're programming it as well, right? So this isn't for the average business.
Zapier.
Zapier. Okay. No, I just wanted to clarify that, because, if someone's watching this and you said API a couple times, maybe you had the impression that you got to be a programmer to do all this stuff.
Well, interestingly, when I started with this, that was what I was doing. I was going into API and actually writing some of the code, right? But when I discovered Zapier, which costs a little bit of money, it's like, $20 a month or something like that. Then it would take, I could just, like with a simple user interface, I can say, take this field, that field, that field, that field, drag them over to here, and then send this update this contact in ActiveCampaign and done. And it just does it. Right? It just does it. So I don't have to write any code for that. It's just very straightforward.
So this is really a comparison between Infusionsoft and now we have to distinguish Infusionsoft by Keep versus Keep, which is their entry-level product. And ActiveCampaign with ThriveCart and Zapier, right? Because without that, you don't have the whole picture.
Exactly. So the solution for that was ActiveCampaign for all the contacts, all the automation, setting tags, that kind of stuff. Membarium, obviously, for the membership part, but that's independent.
Right, but Membarium would work regardless of the back end.
Either one. Yeah, they work both ways. And Membarium were great people. I mean, they've even modified their code to help me with some things like I needed to know if somebody failed a quiz, for example, in my course, right? And I pointed out the Infusionsoft version had it, but the ActiveCampaign didn't.
But so this is with LearnDash?
No, this is with Membarium. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Now they have the ability that you can, it'll trigger on a quiz fail or a quiz, so you can use that to set a tag and send an email out and so forth, right? And they had that in Infusionsoft version of Membarium, but they didn't for the ActiveCampaign. So they fixed that, and that was cool. But yeah, 3 elements: ActiveCampaign, ThriveCart, and then Zapier make that connection. And the one thing that Infusionsoft has that ActiveCampaign doesn't have that I liked was that complete audit trail, right? You could see when somebody bought something, when they didn't, did this way, returned that. For me to see that, I need to go to ThriveCart and look at and they've got a great tracking thing. They've got charts. They've got beautiful stuff, but it's not integrated into ActiveCampaign.
Right. You can't come up and, for example, look at when somebody bought something, how often they're, like, let's say, logging in and logging out, which would be in a single log if you were in Infusionsoft.
Right. And I can see the logging part, of the students inside of, the WordPress site. I can see all that information. But as far as transactional types of things, I had to go to ThriveCart to do that. Now, in fairness, there's a gentleman out there who did like a plugin, not really a plugin. It's like a little app he's running that you can drop on your site. It runs the API connection directly from ActiveCampaign and ThriveCart. And it does keep track of things like, lifetime value of customers and all those kinds of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he does fill in a lot of those holes. I couldn't get it working on my site, but it's probably because I just didn't have the patience to go through all the little steps he had to go through to get it done.
Sure.
But I will. I mean, I know that I'll hook it up because it's just useful to know what lifetime value, that kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Well, now that you've gotten past the let's ramp this up. Now it's like, okay, how do I keep people in the site? How do I increase my profits? Things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but ActiveCampaign has been a really great tool. It's a much simpler tool to learn. I mean, which
by the way is useful. I mean, here you are talking about it as an electrical engineer, but for, if I'm a lawyer, accountant, a non-techie type, that's an important thing. And honestly, that's probably what drove Infusionsoft to come out with the Keep product, which is, it's only 3 or 4 months old. So it's still in, I want to say in its infancy, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that it's starting. So, because they recognize, there's an audience of people that just needs to be something simpler.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is just because I can do something technically doesn't mean I want to or I should. Okay. and that's a big rabbit hole thing. I really focus. In fact, I have a little sign on my desk. It says eliminate, delegate, automate, right? In that order. Right. And it's you got to think about this stuff as your business grows. I remember there was an icon I went to that one of the businesses, when you're moving from a 6 to 7-figure business, you need to do these things. And I was like, myself, I'm like, well, I don't have a 6-figure business. And I'm like, wait, I do, right? And so I went to this event, and all they talked about was delegate and outsource. Delegate and outsource. Get rid of,
well, which for an entrepreneur, when you're starting, it's all heads down. I got to get stuff done.
Well, it's up to me. It's up to me, right?
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you're never going to survive. But when you get to a certain point, if you don't completely switch your thinking, you're eternally stuck in that rut.
Totally stuck. Yeah. And so that's where I found myself last year. And I was like, okay, so now I'm automating everything and delegating, and I've got a number of VAs and a number of different things doing, so it helps. But as far as ActiveCampaign goes, okay, I like the product because it is a simple platform, relatively speaking. I mean, if you compare it to Infusionsoft, Doing what they call an automation, it's the same thing Infusionsoft calls a campaign. Okay.
Right.
But it's much simpler. It's not hierarchical like Infusionsoft is, which I like as a programmer. I like to see levels of things. Say, well, that box has all that stuff, and this box has all that stuff. ActiveCampaign doesn't think that way. They're just like a linear set of steps. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now you can trigger automations. Like drag this thing over here, start this automation when you do that. So you can do that, and they do have this little hierarchical view that shows how all of your automations are connected together.
Right.
But it's not the same thing as Infusionsoft, which was very nice. I like the idea of being able to drill into things and pop back out, drill in, big picture stuff, right? But
well,
really,
I don't want to kind of stay in the weeds so much, because I think at this point most of our listeners are probably saturated. But it really is interesting to see the perspective. Again, I'm an Infusionsoft guy, and so that's kind of my world. But I did want to kind of give people an opportunity to hear someone talk about the other side, but do so from an intelligent perspective. Because one thing is an ActiveCampaign zealot bashing Infusionsoft without really knowing what he's talking about. Where, I mean, clearly you've been through both sides. So, I really appreciate, what all you have to say.
Yeah, great. I agree that it's hard to really get stuff through all the noise, right? There's a lot of noise out there about how to do things, right? And so, George, that's a really good thing, is that you're helping people get through the noise, okay? And it's important, right? Because the problem is, what you really want is you want somebody to say, do these steps. It's like with my training system. I call it 60 Days to Silver, right? It's a week by week, step by step process. So you do these steps, you'll be a silver, and boom, you'll be making money, right?
Yeah, no, hold on. I'm going to stop you, Ron, because what I want to do is stop here. There's going to be a part 2. We're going to cut this up into 2 because I want to get into this tool. So everybody, consider this a cliffhanger. Stay tuned for the next one because we're going to cover that. So thank you very much, Ron.
Hey, keep smiling.